Hello, welcome to Microfiche Microphone. I'm Micah, and on this channel we look at microfiche from the past or old newspaper articles in the public domain. We look at them with our modern eyes, our modern perspective, and see what we can learn from them. On this microfiche time capsule, we're looking at the Ladies' Home Journal from November 1884. And this article is entitled, How One Woman Earns Her Living. I thought this caught my eye because there weren't that many jobs for women in 1884, so this sounds like it's going to be something creative, something that's slightly outside of the norm. So I'm interested to see what was creative and outside of the norm back then, and just maybe it might give us an idea for today. So, who in this economy, who couldn't use a little bit more money? So let's find out how one woman earns her living. A correspondent sends us the following extract from the Boston Saturday Evening Gazette. I have often heard it complained that there was nothing for women to do by which they could earn as much money as men. Okay, in 1884, absolutely 100% true. Perhaps there is nothing in the same line of business as that followed by men, but taking all the professions followed by women, it seems to me that there is a great deal of money made by them. The enormous sums made by singers and actresses are too well known to need mentioning. You mean famous singers and actresses. I think that most singers and actresses did not get paid unless they were very, very well known. But there are other lines of business which women may follow, who have no such natural gifts as these. I heard the other day of a lady who was making a handsome income for herself, and all in the most quiet way. This lady is a Miss Martin. I do not suppose that there is any objection to my mentioning her name, as it is well known among a great many people. Miss Martin is the daughter of a gentleman living near Auburn in this state, and who at one time was very wealthy. But although the family still live in the old homestead, which is a noble mansion, they are very much reduced in circumstances. Miss Martin, when she became old enough to want money, and to know it did not always come from the wanting, cast about her for something to do by which she could at least earn a decent living and not be dependent upon her father. Very noble. I like that. It seemed as though all the avenues were closed. She was not gifted in any particular way, although she was a woman of excellent education, and had all the advantages which came from a high social position. But she neither sang well enough for stage purposes, nor had she any histrionic? Okay, I'm familiar with the word histrionic, but histrionic, I'm going to look it up. I'm sorry, I don't know what that means. Histrionic. It's histrionic, excessively thaumaturgical or dramatic. Okay, awesome. I'm sorry. The only reason I know histrionic is from histrionic personality disorder, which probably came from this time. Interesting. Okay, nor had she any, so that's a typo here, histrionic talent. In giving the subject serious consideration, she remembered that there was one thing she could do very well, and that was pickling and preserving. I like that. She told her friends she was going to make a large quantity of pickles and preserves of different kinds and that she wanted to sell them. Knowing what an excellent housekeeper she was, they knew that anything that was made under her supervision would be sure to be good, so she had no trouble in selling all she made the first year. The second year she made more and sold all. The third year she made more yet and was unable to supply the demand. The fourth year she increased her facilities, and her reputation had by this time spread so far that she did a very large business, and even sold some to the larger stores in New York. Now a friend of hers told me the other day her profits from preserves and pickles reached the very comfortable sum of $6,000 to $10,000 a year. I don't know what that translates to, but I'll look it up in a minute. And she only works from May till November. Auburn being a little far from the New York market where fruit can be bought best and cheapest, Miss Martin has come down and taken a place at Glen Cove to be near her friend Mrs. S.M. Barlow, as well as to gain the advantages of a nearer residence to New York. One of the secrets of Miss Martin's success is that everything she makes is the very best of its kind. All the ingredients she uses in her pickles and preserves are the best in the market, and although she employs a number of men and women, she superintends everything herself. And while her articles are all in the shops, they have a homemade taste that is unmistakable. All the jars bear her initials written in facsimile of her autograph on a neat label on the side. A sister of Miss Martin, seeing her success, cast about her for something to do. Of course she did not want to go into the same line of business, and finally she struck upon cake making as a livelihood, and her cakes are now almost as celebrated as her sister's pickles and preserves. She still lives at Auburn, but she receives orders from New York and even Newport. Miss Martin's cakes are considered an essential part of a well-regulated pantry in New York. All right, I like that. Just feeling a little bit culinary, and I like that the first Miss Martin was very entrepreneurial, yeah, in that she not only made the preserves well and pickles, but that she also marketed them well, because if she hadn't, then they wouldn't be selling as well as they did. So I do like that. There are many aspects of that. So I feel like they all slightly played down what all she has accomplished in setting up this business that's been very successful. So I appreciate that. I don't know how successful her sister's endeavor was. It's not really being very specific. So 6,000 to 10,000 a year, huh? So let's see. How much money compared to 1884? 6,000 in 1884 is worth $181,329 today. And then 10,000 is worth $302,215 today. That's quite impressive. Like between 150 and 300,000 every year, like from selling pickles. Like, yeah, I think that's quite a successful business. So go Miss Martin. I'm impressed. I'm impressed with all that she has done. So I liked that. However, the only thing I didn't like about that is that the endeavors that she went about doing are still considered acceptable, womanly things to do. Women making jam and pickles is really not terribly controversial. Although if it were, she probably also wouldn't be as successful. You know what I mean? It's not like she was a shoemaker, for example, which I think would have been more controversial. Or an electrician, which was a thing back then. It was a very important thing back then because electricity was just taking off. But, she wasn't doing something I would say is typical male. She was making pickles and selling them, So that's slightly disappointing. I was hoping for something a little more feminist. But at the same time, I solidly support this person. And I hope that she continued to be successful. Just out of curiosity, I want to see if I can find her. So Miss Martin pickles. There's a pickle brand called Best Made. Early 1900s. Nope, that's not it. Too late. Unfortunately, most brands are not that old. So it looks to me like they no longer exist, but I guess considering it's been like 140 years, I guess it's not that surprising. But yeah, okay. So I did not find them, which means they're no longer around. Or I'm inferring that they are no longer around. So they also didn't mention the name of the brand, so I can't really look it up. But I still find the story quite interesting. Even if it was only successful for 5-6 years, like that would, allow them to, considering that they don't have any like living expenses, it was mostly like food and clothing that they wanted to buy. So I'm guessing that they didn't have to spend that much money. They already had the house that they had inherited. And they also said that she spent some of her money to buy herself a new house. So she didn't have to live at home with her own family. So I say good for her. I also really love that they're talking about a woman who is very independent. She is not married. She lives on her own. She set up this company all by herself. She didn't have any help. And I really appreciate that in a feminist point of view of saying, like, hey, look, even in the 19th century, women were able and good at being entrepreneurs. Like, this is something that anyone can do if they have the drive to do it. So I really like that, the sentiment. Yeah, I hope you learned something from this too. If you like the video, please hit the like button below, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you in the next video.